That is the exploration that awaits you. Not mapping stars and studying nebula, but charting the unknown possibilities of existence.
With those words, Patrick Stewart's final adventure as Captain Picard on the TV series Star Trek The Next Generation culminated, as the all-powerful being Q imparted a lesson to his on-again, off-again frenemy. The final frontier, that Star Trek catchphrase that is as old as the franchise itself, is about more than just exploring outer space, brave new worlds, and all the rest of it. It's also the investigation of the human interior, of what makes us tick, and of what untold wonders our continued evolution as a species has in store for us. As Stewart returns to the small screen in the unlikely yet somehow also inevitable Star Trek Picard, one must ask, has Jean-Luc taken Q's lesson to heart in the 26 years since that encounter? Or, more specifically, have the writers and producers of the new show done so? Based on the first episode of Star Trek Picard, Remembrance, our tricorder scans indicate the answer is maybe. The show, which picks up essentially in real time, about 2 decades after Nemesis, gives us an older Jean-Luc who retired from Starfleet long ago following a galactic tragedy. Retreating to the family vineyard in France to lick his wounds, Picard is no longer an admiral, but simply Jean-Luc. And yet, he is haunted by what transpired back then, by Starfleet's response to the catastrophe, and perhaps most of all, by the memory of his friend and fellow officer Data, who sacrificed himself for Picard and Nemesis. But our beloved captain, and make no mistake, Stewart instantly finds his inner Jean-Luc in the premiere despite almost 20 years since he last played him, is shaken from the slumber of his self-exile when the mysterious Daj arrives in his life, on the run and in desperate need of help.
One is never safe from the past.
Delving into what exactly is at play with this new character gets into spoiler territory, but suffice to say, her plight resonates with Picard and where his life has taken him. And not just that, but it seems that the mystery behind Daj could tie into Q's Unknown Possibilities lecture from all those years ago. Even as Jean-Luc struggles with his past, the show is also setting up a philosophical argument that, if executed well as the season progresses, could do what Trek was ultimately designed for: to explore the here and now of our world in 2020 through the tropes of sci-fi.
I don't want the game to end.
I can see that, Captain.
While this episode is mostly planet-bound, there's still enough martial arts and phaser fire to keep action junkies happy. That Jean-Luc appears to have trouble keeping up with the action at times is a nice touch of realism, though one expects this will not always be the case as the show continues. That said, the premiere episode does feel somewhat disjointed, as if some connective tissue between scenes is missing, and it also takes a perhaps too leisurely pace while setting up the bigger storyline of the show. Like The Mandalorian before it, it appears Picard is also taking its time introducing its main cast. Beyond Jean-Luc and Daj, we're also introduced to Dr. Jurati, an expert in cybernetics who doesn't have much to work with in the post-Data world, but who does have some fun interplay with Stewart. And Narek, a handsome emo Romulan whose true motivations are unclear at the moment. The rest of the main cast are nowhere to be seen in this episode, while the legacy cast such as Jonathan Frakes, Jerry Ryan, Marina Sirtis, and Jonathan Del Arco are also mostly absent, which is fine. Stewart is on the record as saying that he did not want this to be a retread of The Next Generation, and it certainly isn't that. Instead, Star Trek Picard looks to be building on the world that we last saw in the 2009 J.J. Abrams Star Trek, as well as, of course, on where we parted ways with Jean-Luc in 2002. So far, Picard feels like a natural, if surprising, continuation of that era, but also one that in tried and true Trek fashion has something to say about our world as well.
Engage.
Star Trek Picard is off to a good start, logically extrapolating from where we last saw the title character, while also bringing unexpected elements together to give a different spin to Jean-Luc's world, and Patrick Stewart doesn't miss a beat stepping back into Picard's shoes. While the pacing on the premiere is somewhat wonky at times, so far, this is a fresh new direction for Picard and Star Trek in general. For more Star Trek, check out what to watch before you dive into Picard, and Jerry Ryan on why 7 of 9 blames Picard. And as always, subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch.